Just going to show you guys a quick snapshot of VT Seva and what we were able to accomplish in 2025, so you get an idea of who we are as an organization and the type of volunteer work that we do. Awesome. So in this video, we saw a lot of different things. We saw a lot of different types of activities that we do as an organization. Um, we really focus on a lot of local volunteering impact, whether it's at food banks, whether we're at senior centers, however we can best serve our local community at each one of our branches. At the start of the video, we talked about our different pillars, and one of those pillars was youth empowerment. That's very big for us here at VT Seva, is that not only do we want to just volunteer and give back to the community, but we want to give back to our volunteers as well, especially the youth volunteers who come in from middle school and high school, who are showing up and putting in hours for volunteering. We want to give back to them as well. We do that through leadership opportunities, through our high school clubs and our youth boards, where youth volunteers not just show up to events, but actually take part and take charge in organizing the events and rallying volunteers towards a cause. And then also sessions like this, where we bring in speakers from across industries to share their wealth of knowledge with all of our youth volunteers so that we can better prepare you guys as you are making the transition into high school or maybe getting ready to prepare for college. So with that being said, I'd like to kick it over to our main speaker, Babashiji, to give us a quick introduction.
Thank you, Harish, Jai Srimanaran, everyone. Thank you all for joining. I'm excited to see some new faces here today and some of you who've been here through all sessions. Quick question. Did any of you do both the worksheets? You can raise your hand, say yes in the chat. Good. Did you leverage any AI tools to help refine? How was that? Do you want to hop on the call, unmute yourself and talk about it? Anyone? It's not a must, but remember someone asked me about how do I interview? How do I start speaking up? These are like small things. It's a small community of people you already know. So if you want to just hop on just the call and just explain what you felt was nice from what you learned, anything. Okay. Well, like I said, I dropped the link for the week 3 worksheet in the chat. I hope you all can see that. If you scroll up, you'll see it. The other thing I also wanted to say was if you want help, just me taking a look at what you've put together, if you are going to start your LinkedIn profile or your resume, I did put in my email ID is here. You can reach out to me. We can schedule a 30-minute one-on-one anytime. Um, and I'm happy to help you there too. Okay, so just don't think like it's these sessions and it's done. And if you have questions, you don't want to ask here, I'm here to help you one-on-one and work through this too. Okay. With that said, I am Bhavisha. Okay, let me send it to you again. Okay. Did you get the Google Doc link, everyone? Are you able to see it now? Okay.
Can we get a thumbs up if everyone's able to access the link and get it open?
Awesome. Thank you. So I'm Bhavisha Lingam. I have about 23 years of experience in recruiting field. I live in Seattle. I have a 16-year-old son, and I've been helping his school in being a mentor at DECA. I go to mentor nights, I do interviews with them, I brainstorm ideas with them. I also go to his school. We also do a program like this in his school where, um, different parents come from different fields and talk about how to interview, um, how to interact with others. And so I thought, we'll bring it here for everyone else. And Kiranji, Harishji, and Priyaji helped me put this whole program together to come and help each one of you too with some of the learnings from each of our backgrounds as well and see how we can help, as a community together, how we can help each other with some of these things that we've learned across the way. So that's a little bit about me. I have worked with students up until executive roles. I've hired even directors for a lot of companies. So my gamut's pretty wide because over the 22 years, I've done a lot of different things. Um, Initially, when I started my career, I also helped people who got out of college, helped write their resumes. We worked with a lot of consulting firms. How do they get their first jobs, etc. So that's kind of why we put this program together. So I'm gonna go off video and I'll start walking through let's go to the first slide of this week, Harish. Um, so what we did, sorry, I'm just opening up my slides here. Okay. So in this week 3, what did you discover last two? You discovered your value and you built a toolkit. And now it's time to learn where to look for opportunities. Okay. When to apply and how to stay organized throughout your search, right? It's super important to stay organized. That's the key for your success here. Okay. So job searching isn't just about applying to everything you see. It's about being strategic, targeted, and very systematic. Okay. Um, let's go to the next slide where we're going to talk about the module 1, or in your even in your worksheet you'll see a list for module 1. Where do you look for jobs is the first question. Anybody wants to answer anything about that? Where do you go look for jobs? You can type it in the chat. I know it's always already in the slide, but what comes first to your mind? Awfully good. Okay. Awesome. Everyone wants to use LinkedIn, so better have a LinkedIn profile than all of you. Yes, there are a lot of different job boards. The major ones are LinkedIn, Indeed, and Google itself, right? Like if you go and put like key terms in Google and say jobs, even Google search engine will spew out a lot of things for you, right? And then all of these job boards have, you can create alerts for yourselves on those job boards based on location, based on the roles that you're looking for, based on what you want to do. You can turn in all of that. You can say weekly once reminder, every day, 24 hours, whatever is posted, send it to me. You can set all of those reminders. The other place that you can go and look for jobs is your company career page. You can write down some of the companies that you want to target, right? So if you look at your career sheet, the work three, I've put in like 10 different companies that you actually really want to work for. List them all out, okay? And then start going and looking at those companies and say student program jobs, or if you are going as a fresher, like a full-time job, type that out and see what it pops up. They'll have specific pages within each company's job boards for each of those categories, right? So make sure you do this well ahead, put those links, create an Excel sheet for yourself, or whatever, like even a Word doc, put tables in, put the links to all of those career page links. So you can go in and check every week, every month, every whatever, and then do your research. Also, reason being, I'll go actually into the next slide and tell you about that. But then there is other ways to look at jobs too. There are so many different niche platforms. Um, why do you have these niche platforms too? Is like there are AngelList startups. Sometimes, there's government jobs that are really good jobs too. There are research grants from colleges, etc., that are not posted on any of these LinkedIn's or Google, etc. So you'll have to kind of even think through some of those. And how do you get those links for like some research internships or research based things is also by going, I mean, your school, your counselor will also have all of these resources. So always go check with them, talk to your school resource teams, like what do they have in place. Also, you're
Internship
seeing,
portals for Google and LinkedIn and all.
correct. And then also going into talking to your seniors or people who've already got internships, etc., and asking them what those were, and then plugging it into your sheet, right? I just going and talking to someone, you're going to forget about all of that information. So whenever you start talking and really doing this work, always create a work doc for yourself, put everything in there so you can always come back and refer to that. Okay. And then how do you look for jobs there? Go and type in Boolean searches and say, what is Boolean? Like there are different, if you try it out, it's like marketing and intern or entry level in brackets or and in Seattle. And if you do the combination that way, I'm going to type it in the chat here, what I'm trying to say. This will yield all marketing level jobs and intern or entry level jobs and jobs in Seattle, right? If you go paste this in LinkedIn and then go toggle down to jobs, then you'll get all of the jobs that is this. Let's say if it's software development, right? It's 2 words, so you want to just put it in quotes, software development, and then do that. And then you can find all software development jobs, right? So again, go look for what Booleans are and learn how to use them. You can also, whatever you've uploaded, like if you have a resume that you've already built out, then you can just go use ChatGPT or Gemini and say, can you build out a Boolean for me to go look for these kind of jobs? And it'll give you a startup of how to write that Boolean, copy paste that, and specifically say for LinkedIn, I want a Boolean. I want for job boards, I want a Boolean. For Google search, I want a Boolean. And it'll help you with those Booleans. And then you can change a few things, tweak it, and then try it out. Okay. I'll pause there. Any questions for anyone on that? Okay. So you please start working on your workbook and put all of those informations in the part 1 of that. And then once you do that, Harish, over to the next slide. When to apply. This is so important for all of you, okay? Especially people in high school and in college. There's always times when you need to apply for these jobs, and timing matters a lot for all students to apply to some of these jobs. Let's start with internships. Applications often open in September and close by January. If you're waiting until March to apply for a summer internship, almost everything's gone. Some of the really, really good internships at certain colleges and universities, they certain things that you want to really do, and there are very good ones, they are done. They open internships for the next year, the year before, right? So again, finding out what those are, putting in a reminder, putting a nice table or Excel sheet saying, for this particular internship, I need to apply by this time. Am I ready with everything that I need? What are the prerequisites for this? So you need to start researching, writing it up, and figuring out what you really want to do and when, and putting those timelines for you to start applying to those internships. Okay. Similarly, full-time roles for positions starting after graduation, being, if you start applying 6 to 9 months before you graduate, that's a good cycle for you to start applying to jobs. If you graduate and then start looking, you're wasting time. It's going to take time to find the right job. So, and each company, when you write the list down, try to find out, if you even put it in Google and ask, or ChatGPT to ask, they'll and say, what is the academic calendar cycle for me to apply for a job at Amazon or at Google, at any other company? It will give you the results for each of those 10 companies that you listed. So write those down, put it in your Excel sheet or your work doc, and see when you need to apply, right? Um, there are definitely some companies who have rolling admissions. They go all throughout the year. And so apply as early as possible when you start looking at those too. And then a lot of jobs or internships, some of them can be seasonal, depending on the seasonal pattern or the volume of each company's hiring cycle. Like, for example, an e-commerce company or like Amazon, they want to hire a lot more in Q3 because they're very busy in Q4 and they'll need help with certain things there. There are certain other companies that would like to hire in summer, and because students are in their summer vacation and they want them to work during the summertime, so they plan in January. So they start opening applications early January-ish. So try to look and understand for each of those companies, like what are those seasonal patterns, when do they open those internships. Some of them will fall around your holiday season. Okay. So make sure you plan for some of those. Okay. Now, going on to the next slide, just to go over that too again, in your sheet, you can see where to apply, and then I've broken it down like what the calendars are, given you some examples. So please take a look. Since it's a worksheet, you can add more to that, add tables to that, whatever you want to do, but make sure you start documenting it. Um, and I'd also tell you the why it's important, that continuation of documentation too. Harish, now slide 3, strategic targeting. Okay, why this is important. Here's a mistake I see a lot of students making mistakes. Okay, students apply to like hundreds of jobs randomly and wonder why they never heard back. Quality of applying is very important. Yeah, quantity is important too. But if you're not strategic in the way you want to and what you want to apply to, then you're going to be all over the place. Your resume is going to be all over the place. You're not going to get what you actually want, right? So instead, create a target list of 20 to 30 companies you genuinely are interested in. Research each one thoroughly. What's their mission? What are their values? What is their culture? What kind of entry level positions do they actually offer? So, the whole reason why we started this class now is like, say, you're in the 9th grade or 10th grade or 11th grade, and you want to apply for something in 12th grade. Start now. Start looking at all of these companies. Ask all of these questions. Look when they are posting jobs, what kind of jobs they're posting, and then see like what are some of those that you will like if you do ever have to apply to, right? And if you start writing all of those down and seeing, then you'll kind of understand. It'll be easier for you to start applying. That's kind of why strategic targeting is very, very, very important. Okay. Use this company research template in your workbook. For each target company, answer, why am I interested? Why do I like this company? How do my skill set align with this company's jobs or mission? What positions are available? Okay. So start researching that, add it in there. And then how do you categorize these opportunities into 3 different tiers, right? Um, write out saying, um, after you research, put everything, put a column in there and say, um, these are my opposite opportunities that really intrigued me. And this could be a dream opportunity for you. Maybe you don't meet all of the requirements, but you're passionate about them, then apply for it. Okay. You may be surprised that they will say yes, but put in a nice cover letter and say, like, I don't have all of this, but I have this part of it and I'm passionate and I've done the research about the company. And you add some value about like why you like this opportunity, right? You might get it. And then the match opportunities. These are roles where you meet most requirements and have a realistic shot. This should be bulk of your applications. So call it the match opportunities in the targeted list. You definitely will apply to all of these kind of roles. So anything that comes, yeah, quantity is good over there. And then there are other opportunities, you can list them as safety opportunities. These are positions where you can exceed the requirements. You're very highly capable of doing these, and you'll definitely get interviews for. So it's like highly you get these opportunities very highly. Then there's a mid category like maybe, and then there is like I might not get it, but I want to try them, and write like the why you're going to try for those opportunities, and you might still get them. So divide those and put them in your list, and it's going to be super helpful for you to like figure out when you're applying, and you're not scrambling the last minute like applying for these things and trying to figure out maybe not. But when you do your research and you have your sheet ready, you're going to do it way better. Okay. Aim for a mix. That's do 60% of, the match opportunities, 20% of like, I'm going to try these opportunities, and 20% of the safety opportunities. So think through how you want to split them up and make sure you categorize them and start applying for all of those. Okay. Important again, set your job alerts for such opportunities. For each one, if you go into LinkedIn, anywhere else, like if you're searching a Boolean search with like within Indeed or on any job board will have the what do you call it? Sorry, I lost my frame of thought. Is that alert, right? So set those alerts, and the others just put in the Boolean, and every day or every week, make sure you're going in, putting that Boolean, looking for jobs, and plugging it into your sheet. Okay. Going on to the next module. Next slide, Harish. This is about application tracking system. Okay. This is not about the company's application tracking system. This is your application tracking system. You can get lost in applying to so many jobs, right? And sometimes you won't know, like let's say you are targeting kind of a marketing job, but also a software development job. And you want to track like which company, what application, where you've submitted. If you have two little different versions of your resume and you're submitting, you don't want to have completely different versions of your resumes and submitting into the same system at Google, right? You want to make a very clean resume for each of those companies, and you want to track, did I submit this in this time? What companies I submitted? And if you don't start, whenever you click apply, I would say whoever's been successful so far has a good way to track all of these. Create an Excel workbook, a spreadsheet, or a Word doc, whichever way you want. Please make sure that you start tracking company name, position title, when did you apply? If you are going to apply, what is the deadline and when do you need to apply? When you go into LinkedIn, like I said, if you do have anyone or your parents have a contact or your seniors have a contact within that company, try to research well ahead. Ask that contact, hey, if this position opens, would you be able to refer me to this position? Hey, senior, looks like you're interning here. Will you be able to refer me to this internship when I am interning? Plug in their name, ask them for their yes or no, and say yes, they will. Ask them, would you mind if I send you a text about this or an email about this when this comes out? Get their phone number or their email ID, plug it in there with the company name, and then make sure you do follow up, give them write up a nice cover letter, send it to them, and ask them to help you too. So if you do your work before, if you know what those links are, contacts are, it's really going to help this whole process much better. But if you come in last minute trying to look when the position opens, and then you go try to find somebody and ask your parents, can you ask this person? Let's say that person's traveling, that person's not there. It's going to be a mess to find someone within 24 hours. And once they open a job application online, sometimes there are systems that, let's say you get 1,000 applications, the system will automatically unpost the job because there's already 1,000 applicants and they can't take any more applicants in that system. Okay, so you want to make sure you are strategizing, you are figuring out how to apply, when to apply. And then if you do find someone who is going to, refer you, write a nice referral letter saying, XYZ is the position that I want to apply to. Here's why I'm a good fit for this resume, for this position. And please submit my resume. Once you submit, please let me know. And then you'll get a link once you apply. Always send a thank you note to that contact and say thank you for referring me. And when you're doing that, ask them to, like, if I do get an interview, would you be able to help me, just help me with interview, right? Can you tell me a little bit about the culture? Even if it's not in the same job family that that person's working, they'll know like basic interview behavioral questions will be the same across every company. So ask them, would you be able to give me some of your time, even 15 minutes, just to go over what are those cultural kind of questions, and then set up a time with them. Okay. And when I say connect with people, right? I'm just going to hop on video and tell you, like, this is super important to find the people who can help you. Okay. So try to look for, talk to your seniors, talk to your counselors, talk to people who are your friends, parents' friends, kids who've done things. Start writing all of them down, what they've done. That is going to help you a lot more than just going into it without any research, without any, you need to start thinking through that mindset. And the reason why I'm asking you to document all of these things too, right? Even your resume, the workshop 1 and 2 that we did, your passion, as you continue growing, when you start writing the first round of your resume, keep a standard one and then start plugging in whatever you've been learning through. Like, let's say you finish an internship, quickly go add the internship into that resume or keep another Excel sheet. Write down what are the good things that you did in that company in those internships, right? Like, this is what I achieved. Wherever you go, whatever you do, quantify those numbers. Whatever internship you did, have it in the star format. This was the situation. This was the task, this was the action, this was the result. Have a star sheet, Excel sheet, and plug it in there. And then when you need to apply to your next job or anything you want to do next time, you can quickly go take that, put it in ChatGPT or anywhere else and say, summarize it for me to add it to my resume. And that becomes super easy for you to track. If you don't do that, and let's say you are after a year of your internship, you're going to start applying to actual jobs once you graduate. And then you kind of start thinking, okay, what did I do? What are the numbers? It's going to be hard. You'll forget. And then you want to reach out to somebody in that company and say, can you give me feedback from what I did? Each manager will have a lot of interns going through their in a year, right? So when you have their attention, try to get an email saying, here's what you did, or recommendation from them. Keep it. Put it into your portfolio again. Or on LinkedIn, ask them to give you an accolade. Ask them to recommend you on LinkedIn. Save it in there. All that is going to help you in your future too. Okay? So I'm going to pause here. I know I'm 6 minutes over my talking time. I want to invite Harish. He's going to be our guest speaker today. And in today's module, whatever I covered, I'm going to ask Harish questions on that because he recently I'll let him introduce and then I'll tell you the why. Introduce yourself, Harish. Thank you for
Sounds good.
joining and helping today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm Harish. I am a recent graduate of the University of Michigan, where I studied computer science, and currently I'm a software engineer at Capital One out in Chicago.
Thank you, Harish, for joining. I'm going to break it down and ask you questions in 2 different sections, okay? One is getting into University of Michigan, right? How did you plan your internships? or what really helped? Um, One question. Second question is, what would you have done better to get into, when you were doing that piece before you got into college?
Yeah, I think so. For getting into college, I had one software internship before where I was working at a very local company.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just, nothing crazy, but just got me some basic exposure to computer science and the industry. So being able to reach out to local companies and see if there's any way you can help, paid or unpaid, just to get some experience is a big leg up. In terms of what I wish I did more, I would say personal projects would have been great. You don't always need to be working for someone or have someone telling you what to do in order to gain experience, especially now with AI and
Mm-hmm.
GPT Gemini. They're so great at coming up with ideas. So if there's anything you're interested in, you can always go bounce ideas off of one of those AI models, get some base exposure, and then start working on it yourself. There's, especially if you're interested in software, there's so many tutorials out there. But no matter what field you're interested in, I don't think there's anything you can't find on the internet. So using those resources to, find something that you find interesting and then doing some personal work on it would be really helpful.
How do you define that? Like, what is a personal work? Can you give us like an example that they can do and try?
Mhm. Yeah, I guess so from me, from a software perspective, one problem that I was facing is that I would have a lot of coffee chats while I was in college,
Mm-hmm.
and didn't have a great way of keeping track of all my notes. So using like ChatGPT to tell it my problem and here's some solutions I'm thinking of. What do you think about the model? And using it to help refine an idea. And now currently I'm like building out my own like site where I can keep track of all my notes. So same way, if you come across a problem that you have, or maybe you watch a YouTube video that you think is interesting, something that just gives you some slight idea, you can provide that raw idea to one of these models and then use it to flesh out, a strong, research project or a strong coding project or something like that.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Okay, now that you got into college, and you were looking through internships
Mhm.
there, and then again landing the Capital One job, what are some things that you had to do? Each of you has so much college work, but like, where did you go to find like what I explained in the class today, right? Like, how do you know when I need to apply for this internship? How did you track it? Is there a
Mhm.
better way to track? I know I'm old and I use my Excel sheets, but there could be
Mhm.
other cool things out there. But I wanted
Mhm.
to ask you is like, what are things that you did to track and make sure you were applying to the right positions?
Yeah, I also use an Excel sheet. I think, simple is best. It does the job and you can see everything easily. There
Yep.
are some other tools out there. There's one, I'll put it in the chat. I know it's called Simplify. It's it's like similar to an Excel sheet, but it has some added features and functionality to help you keep track of everything.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're, especially like when you're in college and you're really applying to internships a lot, it can be helpful there. Um, but then, of course, those job boards, going on to LinkedIn, Indeed, all of them, and just setting up an alert and say, I'm looking for like medical research experience. I'm looking for internships at law firms. This is the area I'm looking for. Just setting those alerts, you'll get a daily email with new jobs. So it
Mm-hmm.
takes away all the search work. You get the jobs to your inbox, and all you have to do is go apply. But then most
Awesome.
importantly is reaching out to people who are like a grade or two above you, because they were in your shoes just last year. So they have
Mm-hmm.
all the advice. They know, they went through it. They found out, what the timeline is like. I didn't realize until my sophomore year that some of these like computer science internships, if I wanted to start an internship in May 2026, I would have to apply in like May 2025 to even
Mm-hmm.
be considered. Like some of them start super early, and especially my freshman year, I was very late to the game. So making sure, you just talk openly with some seniors, get an idea of their, what they've gone through. They'll share the lessons that they went through as well, because they were just in your shoes last year. That'll give you some insights that you won't be able to find anywhere else.
It's interesting you call that out, like you're late to the game. What would you tell everyone here? What do you mean by that, and what they need to do, from the lessons that you learned?
Yeah, I mean, building your career is a very iterative process, right? It starts, back in middle school and high school where you're taking classes, maybe you're doing like dual enrollment or you're taking AP classes, you're, maybe trying to get your first internship or doing those individual projects. That's where it
Mm-hmm.
all starts. You start building your foundation. And then once you get into college, of course, there's stuff like the classes that you take and the clubs that you do, but more importantly, the internships that you get over the summer build on each other. So for most people, your freshman year internship, it might not be at like a big company or super fancy or glamorous,
Mm-hmm.
but it's a start. So trying to make sure you start early, you don't put off recruiting till like your junior year. You want to make sure that you try and get some experience your freshman year so that you can use that to build off of it for something better in your sophomore year, and then something better in your junior year, and then something better when you go to full time. So just making sure you don't delay the starting of your process will give you that much more time to continuously build on your past experience.
Amazing. Thank you. Job search is such a good thing and also a nerve-wracking thing, as well as um, disappointment, right? Because not every, I mean, research I've done just within the experienced people that I've been helping recently, the amount it takes about 3 to 6 months to land a job, for some of them who are experienced because they're niche in certain ways, etc. Tell me a little bit about how you got the Capital One job and like what is the
Mhm.
math you did to apply and how did you work through and everyone's career we all go through like, oh, I got a lot of rejection emails. After you interview, you get rejections. What kept you going?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely have had more than my fair share of rejection emails. I think so. I first started as an intern at Capital One, so I interned there last summer. So
Hmm.
when I was recruiting, that was my junior year when I was recruiting, I had sent out over 400 applications and I received, over like well over 300 rejections. So I think it's definitely hard when you start the recruiting and all you're getting is rejections. It's hard to continue, but one thing that really helps is surrounding yourself with friends and people who are also doing the same thing. So, you're not in it alone. Everyone around you is also recruiting. They're also getting those rejections. It's not just you, it's not just your resume. It's like this is how the job market is right now. And that's just part of the experience. And like if you want to have a career in a certain field, it's gonna take some work, it's gonna take some failures, some struggle before you try and find something that fits. So especially that year, that I went through a couple interview processes where when I made it to the final round and then got
Hmm.
rejected. That was very like I was like, oh, I was almost there. Um, what more can I do? But I think it's not like it's not something where you have to change your approach or do something different. It's just as long as you persevere and you keep doing what you're doing, that's enough. Like you keep sending out those applications, you keep reaching out and having coffee chats or talking to your seniors. As long as you continue doing that a little bit every day, it works out. So you don't have to send out like 20 applications every day. If you just commit yourself to say, okay, I really want to make sure I get an internship this summer. To get that, let me, do some research and send out 3 quality applications every day. Over the course of like a semester, that adds up a lot, and you'll end up having a lot more opportunities than trying to do short bursts and then getting demotivated and then trying again.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing that. The reason I brought that up to all of you here is Harish wrote it out very well. I'll share these slides with you. Perseverance is important. Never lose hope. Um, there is an opportunity for each one somewhere. Just because someone rejects because of a niche role that they're looking for, etc., it doesn't mean what you're doing is wrong, right? There's always chances to learn through the process. First few interviews, I would say in the list of 30 companies that you're targeting, start applying for the last ones, like 25 to 31 first. So if you do get an interview call, then you're practicing interview with those companies, right? Or none of these on your list. Go apply for other things and then practice interviews with those companies. If you get an offer, that's up to you. But and then start going into the companies that you actually want to work for, right? If you start from the first five and you bomb it and then be like, oh gosh, I should have done better. So think through that mindset. Try to apply for those jobs too, and not only for these so you can get interview practice. Similarly in internships too, like even there, sometimes they do, it's not just an application. They would like to hop on a call and have that conversation. So think through that mindset. Always be, ask like what Harish said, talk to your seniors, what worked, what didn't work, and ask your seniors, I got this Capital One, like Harish, hey, I got an internship call for Capital One. Can you help me prep? Is there any material that you can email me? Or can you ask me some questions, right? And all of you can become each one's mentor and friend here in this, just these 20 of us here. Um, Reaching out and asking for help and working through is going to help you. So the one thing that I would say is ask for help. If you don't think you're alone in this, there's so many people here who can help you, but you have to go and ask for the right help to the right people, and you will find someone to help you. If you don't ask and you think that you can do everything and then like get into that cycle of rejections, it's going to be hard mentally. So I know that too because we've all gone through this ups and downs in lives. And so having mentors, having friends, having those conversations with your parents, taking guidance is always going to help. Talk it out. It'll be easy for you to do things better. Um, So please have someone that you can talk to and work through these situations. So Harish, one more thing that I wanted to ask you was if you have to give them um, three top things, I think most people here are like high school kids, and they want to look for internships mostly, right, through high school. So if you want to throw some light on anything that they can do to help them at this point, what would you
Mhm.
give three top things that you've done?
Yeah. I'll preface it by saying getting an internship in high school is hard. Most companies, most things that you find on these job boards, like they're looking for people who are in college. So just go into the mindset of that it is difficult. Majority, I'm sure like over 90% of high schoolers don't do an internship, and that's completely fine.
Mm-hmm.
But there are ways to get internships in high school. It's not impossible, and it all just comes down to, like Bhavishji said, asking. So number one is like the first step is to figure out what you're interested in. What do you want to try? It doesn't have to be like a super specific niche. Like for me in high school, I was kind of interested in biomedical engineering. I was kind of interested in computer science, and I was lucky enough that my high school had a program that reached out to companies in my city and tried to figure out if they could do an internship for a semester. So first step, figure out what you're interested in. Try to narrow list it down to like two things that you want to try. And then I'd say your first point of contact would be your counselor at high school. They deal with, hundreds of students every day. They know the education system well, they know the city well. So go, schedule a meeting with them, go talk with them for 20 minutes, tell them like, here's what I'm interested in, here's, the stage in my life that I'm in. I really want to get some hands-on exposure in this field. as a learning opportunity to see, one, do I really like this? Do I really want to be an engineer or a lawyer or something? And two, I want to figure out what skills does it take to actually work in this field. So go tell them that. They can, in the best case, they'll have some contacts that they'll be able to reach out to. But even in the worst case, they can point you in the right direction as to where to look. So then the next step is, doing some reaching out yourself. So you can go on Google, you can put in your city, like I lived in Livonia, so I could put in Livonia, and I could put in like hospitals, for example, and see what kind of hospitals are available in the city, how big they are, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can try and reach out to those companies. So same way for like software, you can look at software companies and try and reach out, shoot them an email, message them on LinkedIn, something. And when you reach out, just frame it in a way that your main goal is to learn. You're there to build your own skill set, help them out with whatever they need help with. The work doesn't have to be glamorous, it doesn't have to be super interesting, but it's the exposure, it's a starting point. So frame it in a way that you're there to help them however they can. And in return, they're just helping you learn and get some exposure into the field that you're interested in.
Amazing. I want to add to that. I have also been shopping around and talking to quite a few, just for my son. He's, like I said, he's in 10th grade, and I did research a couple of counseling. There's so many counseling companies, counselors out there, and I did talk to one or two um, people who are on college councils, because I do have my cousin whose son got into a thing, and she goes to the school and she's a counselor. And one thing this is because there's a question in the chat saying, do I need to get an entry level job at high school as a high schooler, or should I stick to internships too, right? I was going back and forth with my son because he said he wanted to apply to a job in Coldstone as a part-time job. And I was like, my mindset was like, why don't you do volunteering work instead and, stick to what you like doing and add more hours in that. But when I talked to the counselor mentioned to me, both are good, but as a counselor from a university, what she advocates is even having part-time work, which is not just for a short period of time. Let's say the example that she gave me was um, colleges are actually looking for is a student who has actively tried to make their community a better place and understand what their unique role in their community is. Okay. And having multiple volunteering commitment, especially in unrelated things, can dilute that message that you're going to write in your application. Okay. So for example, let's consider an engineer who volunteers at a bike repair shop for 3 years and has helped and formed relationship with dozens of patrons, versus a business student who volunteers at a soup kitchen, the animal shelter, and a recycling center, but can't say that he made a huge impact at any one place, right? So think through that mindset. Whatever you're doing, do it very committed. How is it helping the community? And how are you, like, they want to see the passion towards it too. And the why you did that. It's not that, oh, you got an internship at Google, so it's great. No, it's about how you're aligned to with what you want to do, how passionate you were, how are you writing that up, and how are you actually showcasing that passion, meaning, or your strength. Or it's not just the passion, it's your strength, it's your key skill. They want to see um, what you're um, what you're committed to is what they want to see, right? Um, is that something correct too? Did it
Yeah.
work on your end too, the same way, or even your friends, etc.? What do you say about that, Harish?
Yeah, 100%. I think it doesn't necessarily matter whether it's a volunteer or a part-time job or an internship. Like those specifics aren't the important thing. It's more about, did you do something? Were you interested in it? Did you have, some impact? What like did you learn from it? Those are the key things. So it's yes, like it's important to like do multiple things in high school, but you shouldn't just be like, dipping your toe in everything and then calling it good. Like putting some depth into a certain project. Like let's say you volunteer at like an animal shelter and you really enjoy it. Put some time into it, invest some time, make it, a part of who you are. Those are the things that especially stand out in your college application, where a lot of these college application reviewers, they don't want to see that you've done a million things in high school and you were doing a different activity every single day. They want to see like I forgot they call them spikes when you apply to college. So they want to see like, oh, this person is interested in volunteering and they're interested in sports. Like, they have like two or three spikes where it's like these are the things that they really enjoy and that they invest their time in. So don't concern yourself too much with the, oh, I need to get an internship and I need to do research and I need to do this and I need to do that. Just
Yeah,
find, the things that you are interested in and invest your time in those and highlight those when it's time for you to do your application.
exactly. Okay, we're gonna pause. Want to see if any of you have any questions. Again, as I said last session, try baby step, unmute yourself and ask the question. If not, even type it in the chat, whichever works. But any questions?
Do you have any reference for any college counselor?
References for college counselors. No, I mean, how I did it was, I mean, I can tell you what we're doing in Seattle. I went and asked my set of friends and their children who got into good schools, wrote a list down of the different counselors they went to. Then me and my son hopped on a call with each of those counselors, kind of sat through like, and asked him to ask some questions because it's just not about
Yes,
my thought.
that's what I'm looking for. If you can
Yeah.
share some
Mine,
contacts of those counselors.
what I did was we did Path IV. I can email that out to you. So, but I don't know, in each of your state,
Okay.
it's different. So I don't know where you're from. That's kind of why I was trying to explain how you do that process. And I Googled too, saying what are some of those around this area. And then went through like where are their kids going, like have they been mapped into any colleges? It'll also depend on what your child wants to do. There was one of my friend, the daughter was doing absolutely amazing at school. She was the DECA president, etc. And and all she needed was help with essays. So they found only an English counselor who can help with only that piece. But for me, I started my son in 10th grade because he wasn't sure like which direction he wants to go. And when I did Path IV, gave him questionnaires to try to figure out what he likes and show those things, etc. So it's just trying to figure out what you need, what your child needs, and then trying to figure out the counselor for that. Just there was another a friend's daughter, she got into MIT, and I asked her the question, did all of these counselors help you? And she had 3 different counselors. And she said the only counseling that really helped me was the English counselor who drove me to think through the mindset of how to write my essay, right? Because you don't know what to write your essays on. So she said that was particularly helpful. So each one is different. Try to figure that out. But happy to share who I spoke to in Seattle. Whoever raised your hand, I'm sorry, I can't see the name there. It's an
Sushmita?
SC. Yeah, go ahead, ask your
Oh.
question.
Did you do multiple types of internships or did you just do like a singular one that you focused on?
For me, I ended up doing two different internships that I split my time towards because that's just kind of what made sense to me. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do in high school. So I did one internship at a local hospital where I was in their like their engineering department. So they would handle all the repairs and servicing for all the medical devices in that hospital. And then another internship part-time where I was at a local software company and they were building like some tools for other local companies to help keep their like businesses safe and secure. So I was at that time, I was interested in like biomedical engineering, and then I had like some like light software experience through my robotics team. So I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to do, and doing those two internships kind of helped me get a better idea of each of those spaces and figure out what do I actually want to do as a career. So I think for
Okay.
anyone else, like it's not like you have to do two internships or you have to do multiple, but it's more about, is there something you think you're really interested in? Is there maybe two things you're interested in? Try to find experience or opportunities in both those areas, whether it be an internship or a personal project, just to get a better feel for that space.
I'm going to share your LinkedIn, Harish.
Oh yeah,
So
go for it. Yeah.
there,
Yeah, feel
if you
free to
click,
connect with me there. Yeah.
yeah, and if you click on his LinkedIn, you can see what he's done too and the whys, like the trajectory of what he's added in. I liked your profile, so I'm just sharing it, saying
Yeah.
it's a great example for everyone to see and read through. Don't reach out to him without reading through. If you are going to reach out to anyone, do your due diligence of a little homework on exactly what they've done. Write down questions you want to ask. And if you go and ask them those questions, they'll be able to help you better. I've had so many people reach out to me and just say, hey, I see you're a recruiter. Can you help me? And I'm like, okay, help you with what? Just give me like where you need help with, right? Like it's good to do your research for anything and come with good questions. Okay. Someone else raised their hand. Did you?
So Moksha, raise your hand.
Yes, that was me.
Mhm.
Quick question. So, because you chose to be in the pre-medical biomedical program, and then obviously when you were in the high school, you were targeting for the pre-med schools, right?
No, I wasn't really thinking about medicine. I was thinking more on the engineering side.
I see. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
So even for the biomedical engineering, do you need to do the health courses starting from ninth grade or not necessary?
No, I mean, even if you want to go into pre-medicine, you don't have to do health courses starting from ninth grade. All, from an official standpoint, like the requirements that you need to do for pre-medical, it only starts in college. So in high school, I'd say focus more on exploration, think about, if have an interest in medicine, yeah, go do, a dual enrollment class or something in medical. And then, try to find out what you want to do. And then once you get to college, you can really focus on, oh, these are the requirements I need to hit to make sure I can get into like a med school. So take it step by step. But yeah, you
Okay.
don't need
So
to
it
start
is,
in ninth grade with
and
courses.
I see. Okay. We recently went to Miller. I don't know if you live in Houston,
I
but
don't.
people who live in Katy, Texas, they had this Miller campus where they do extracurricular courses, and
Mhm.
they I think they do principles of health science, medical terminology, anatomy, physiology, and then clinical rotations. All those courses. So I'm not sure how much do the kid do we need to do those courses to be in the pre-med school.
Yeah, you don't need to. Um, those courses, like it's best if you treat them as experience. Like, take one course, see if it's interesting, see if this is a path you want to follow. And then like yeah, those courses, there'll be like an addendum on your application to say, oh, I've done this course, I've gotten some experience, but it's not a requirement and it's not like you have to do that to be eligible for medical school.
Got
or
it.
pre-med.
So I can
Okay.
still take regular courses. I mean, I can still take the advanced courses over academic courses, but because I'm still interested in both computer science and medical as well, but I can still keep doing the computer science related courses, but be volunteer in the medical related stuff. That should be good.
Yeah, whatever helps you get the breadth of experience will work out well.
Thank you so much.
Any other questions? Cool. Well, thank you all for joining and asking questions. I was super happy that all of you asked questions today. Next week's going to be our last session. We have another guest speaker. He is in his, I think he did 2 internships, one at Amazon, one at Microsoft, and then now he's in a full-time job at Microsoft. Studied at UW, did computer science engineering. So we'll talk to him, but also we will go through is like, how do you leverage all of the LinkedIn connections, why mentorship is important, etc. So please make sure you do come to that session. And again, I'm offering to help each one of you with your LinkedIn profile and your resume. I put in my email ID. Harish will send that again, email. So reach out to me. We can do one-on-one sessions, and I can walk you through what you want to do. Okay.
Yeah.
Again,
Thank you all so
even
much for joining.
yeah, even the
Yeah.
ChatGPT and Gemini, like how do you leverage that? I am happy to like walk you through with what you have put in and see how you can leverage it. So thank you again, and thank you, Harish, for helping everyone here today.
Yep. Thank you
Thank
all
you
so
so
much for
much, both
joining.
of you.
You're welcome.
Once again, please make sure you fill out that form to register. And I know a lot of people asked about volunteering opportunities, so highly recommend going to, I'll put the link in the chat, vtsworld.org, to take a look at some of the work that we do as an organization. We have branches all over the country. So if you want to get into volunteering or maybe use that as one of your spikes for your college application, highly recommend checking out VTSAVA as well. So once again, please make sure to fill out that registration form. I'll send out a email a bit after this session with some of the resources we discussed, and as well as Bobby Shidri's email so that you guys can reach out and get direct feedback from an Amazon recruiter with 20 years of experience on your resume and profile. So thank you all again for joining, and we hope to see every single one of you next week.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thank you, Moksha, for submitting the form.
Thanks, everyone. All right. Bye.
Thank you.
Harish, and thank you again.
Yep. Thank you for having me.